I want to take a moment to remind everybody about cleaning and oiling your machine regularly, especially for the machines with the jumbo bobbin, like I'm at a 790 right now. These machines love their oil, and they like to be free of lint, because that lint will suck up some of the excess oil in there and end up making you having to oil it more frequently. So, cleaning process, you're going to remove the bobbin case. Little silver clip on the left side over here opens up, I always call it the little trap door, and you can remove the hook piece. The hook piece is actually in there with a little bit of a magnetic grab behind the stem, so tug on it a little bit, place it carefully, as there's points on that hook piece that are important to stitch formation, so you don't want to be dropping that down on the floor. I'm going to take off the stitch plate, but before I do, I am going to drop my feed dogs down so that I'm not putting any unnecessary stress on the feed dogs. And taking off the stitch plate, I'm just going to push in the back right hand corner. And if your machine is new, my plate has been on and off multiple times. If your machine is new and you're pushing down here and nothing's happening, just give it a little extra push from underneath to help get it free. And I'm also going to remind you to do an inspection on the underneath of your stitch plate once in a while, because there are 3 brackets that hold it in place, and sometimes a customer will come in with a bracket broken off. Perhaps it's on a little bit crooked, or they're a little aggressive in how they pop it off, and we have had a broken bracket piece end up getting caught in the hook and causing all kinds of problems. So we just like to keep an eye to make sure that they're there and intact. So this exposes you to what you need to get to from the consumer point of view in your machine, and you really don't need anything more than a lovely, much used dust brush to brush out everywhere that you can see lint. I also keep a little pair of tweezers handy for 2 things. One, in the inside area, there's 2 little rectangular knobs that are in the area where the hook ends up getting placed. And sometimes you'll get a little tiny piece of thread caught up behind there. If you had a little jam up at the start when you were sewing and you removed everything, if you look real close, you might end up seeing inside there some excess thread. And also on the inside rim in there, there's a little bit of a ridge, and sometimes when I've done something like flannel or quilting with batting, the fuzz will actually get kind of built up into that ridge, and it helps to have the real pointy little tweezers remove that. If you have a machine with a jumbo bobbin, you either have the oil pen that was originally coming with the machines, which looked like a pen and had 2 little spots on the side that you would push into and click to drop oil out. And if you've gotten a machine more recently, or you've already gone through that oil and have replaced it, it's now coming packaged in a little bottle, which is a little bit easier to use. But this is the correct oil for the 4, 5, and 7 series machines with the jumbo bobbin. If you're a Bernina person that has an older or smaller model, you might also have a tube. It's a little different color, as you can see, and this is for the CB bobbin machine, so do not use this for the jumbo bobbins. So where are you going to oil? You're going to take the hook piece, and there are 2 felt dots inside the hook, and you're going to put a drop of oil in each one, and then I take a 3rd drop and just put it on the rim and just kind of run it around, and that's all you need. Back in the day, we were being told to fill a reservoir over here where there's a red dot. That's no longer the recommendation, because they found that people were just over oiling the machine, and then you would be getting a lot of gray gunk coming up on the thread when you started sewing. So 2 drops, 1 on each felt pad, 1 on the rim, rub it around, and then you're ready to put everything back together again. I'm going to be doing this from an interesting angle here, but I'll give it my best shot. What I like to do, I do not hold it by the stem, because the stem just kind of rotates around. So I like to hold it like with my thumbs holding it. And what I look for is there's 2 rectangular cutouts in the hook, and there's 2 rectangular shaped tabs inside the machine. I want to say they're about 4 o'clock and about 10 or 11 o'clock. So I try to get it lined up similar to that, and I go in kind of lining up the bottom first, like the 6 o'clock point, and then you will simply keep trying, and eventually when you get it right, the magnetic tab grabs it. You feel it grab, and it's good. You'll notice what I was doing, and partly because of the angle that I'm at, is I was fussing with it, and it can get really, really frustrating. So I just pull it back out, look at my tabs again, realign it, and go back in, and it should find the sweet spot. Then you'll close this door, and you really want to make sure that it closes and clicks on this left side where the thing that opened it was, and you'll put all your pieces back in. And what I do for putting the stitch plate back on is I line up one edge, and especially when your machine is new, this sometimes feels a little challenging and you're afraid to push, but as long as one edge is lined up, I will push firmly down and get the stitch plate back on. Then I will push the button for my feed dogs, and as we know, the feed dogs do not come up, but once you take the first stitch, they will return. So we should be cleaning and oiling our sewing machines every 3 to 4 hours of sewing time, so depending on what you're working on and how frequently you're in your sewing room. Also, if you go for a long period of time, like a couple weeks, and you haven't used your machine, I would probably recommend when you do start it up that you put the drops of oil in the hook. Run a piece of test fabric through right afterwards, and then get on with your sewing. For the machines with the auto scissors, there is also a method that you should be going through for cleaning that cutter once in a while, and I will go through that in a separate video. Also, in a separate video, I will do cleaning and oiling on the CB bobbin hook. So that's like the 325, the 335, the 535.